G'day guys and welcome back to Dog Shadow Gaming, the channel where we live to game and game to live. As always, I'm Belf and today we're looking at Chaosbane, a Warhammer action RPG set in the fantasy universe of Warhammer, just after the triumph of Magnus the Pious against Azavar Kul, the ever-chosen of the time. Now, what I thought we'd do today is have a quick look through all of the footage that I've sort of compiled together for you guys, give you some of my thoughts on the game, and sort of see where it's at. Now, it is scheduled to release on the 4th of June, so we've got about 4 months away at this point. And we've just had the Waywatcher drop, which is the last of the 4 heroes that will be starting. There also have been released the notes on how you can buy the game and what packs are coming out. So I thought this would be a really good time to introduce it to the channel and get everyone hyped up, because it will definitely be on the channel. All right, so let's watch the starting trailer and then we'll get into it.
Long before the reign of our glorious Karl Franz, the bloodthirsty tribes of the North united and invaded the Empire of Man. The Great War against Chaos raged on, up until Magnus the Pious rallied the citizens of Nuln, resisted the enemy, and defeated the Chaos leader, known as the Ever-Chosen, scattering the invaders in the process. But the forces of Chaos have crawled back from the shadows to strike at the Empire. Unless something is done, the Empire of Man will again descend into darkness and turmoil.
Okay, welcome back guys, and here we are. We're going to watch the latest release clip from the developers. Now this just came out yesterday as of the clip, which is the 9th of the 2nd. So I'm sorry if you're watching this afterwards. Very excited here guys. I've been watching this game for a while. I haven't put anything up on the channel yet because I wanted to wait till we had more information on the game. So this is sort of my big reveal for the channel. This one will definitely be a staple both on the Twitch stream and on the channel, so do keep a close eye on us. It releases in 4 months. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch the clip through. I won't talk, and then we'll watch it again, and I'll go through it, and we'll stop it, and we'll talk about the characters, what I'm seeing, you know, my thoughts on it, where we're, you know, what sort of characters I probably like to play, and what I'm seeing there. Some thoughts on where they could go, and then we'll talk about the release date, the release packages, the DLCs, the season pass, all that sort of bits and pieces. So I've tried to cobble everything together so you can watch one and get a really good idea of the game. All right, so let's watch it now and yeah, get into the action. Cool.
As the Empire of Man recovers from the Great War against Chaos, those in the Old World celebrate Magnus's victory. But the Dark Gods are planning their revenge. The safety of the Empire is now threatened by a new enemy who dares to strike at Magnus himself. The fate of the Empire lies in our hands. If Magnus dies, the Empire dies with him.
Okay, so let's jump back to the start here, guys, and we'll go through it, and I'll give some of my thoughts. So straight off the bat, we're starting to see a little bit of, and here is the key, guys. So we've seen the Empire Soldier has been released. By the way, guys, you can check out all the videos. I'm going to like put them in here where I can, but you can check everything in full on their Steam page. I will leave links down below. for their Steam page and their Facebook and even their Twitter, because the developers, as I said, or will say a lot here, have been very vocal, and I actually really like they've had a lot of character, and that you can tell they are passionate Warhammer fans, which is really, really cool. And they've been very open with the community, which has been really good, and it's such a fresh air from other people other developers and publishers who maybe don't do that. Now, as I said earlier, it is being developed by Echo Software, and it is published by, I think it's Big Ben Studios. So, you know, you can look them up and see what you like. I'm loving the action combat just so far. Let's keep going.
As the Empire of Man recovers from the Great War against Chaos, those in the Old World celebrate Magnus's victory.
This is a really cool setting in the fantasy genre for Warhammer. No one, to my knowledge, has actually done anything in this particular time frame. I don't think Mark of Chaos. I think Mark of Chaos was before this, and Total Warhammer is set in end times. Vermintide is set in the end times. So I'm not sure. I mean, please do tell me if you know another game that was set just after Magnus's rise. He unites the tribes of men and fights off Azavar Kul, the Everchosen, which is, I think, the first or second Everchosen, because the current, or the one for the end times, is, I think, the third. I could be wrong with that. Maybe he's the second. But either way, this is a really cool time to do, and it's nice to have it set in a time that's not end times, to be honest. There's a lot of mixed feelings on the end times from the community who love Warhammer. Some people are like, yeah, okay, but the vast majority don't like it. So, myself included, I think they had some good storylines in there, but they didn't need to destroy the universe.
But the Dark Gods are planning their revenge. The safety of the Empire is now threatened by a new enemy who dares to strike at Magnus himself.
Okay, so here we're seeing our first character of the 4 that will be starting when the game launches. Now, this guy here is the Empire Soldier. Now, this is your tank class, right? Reminiscent of your tank classes in Diablo 2 and 3. He's sword and board type warrior. He's got some really interesting abilities, and we'll go into them now. I'll jump to a clip, which is the release clip, the very first one we had for this guy, and the developer Chris talks about his mechanics and how he works. Bear in mind, guys, that there has been a couple of changes to his shield bash. Developers are really, really quick, as I said, to listen to people's feedback, and they have changed some of it to make it a little bit more dynamic, which is so cool that they're listening and they're part of their community. I think I really got to take my hat off to them. They're very active with their community, which is great. They sound like real larrikins, and they love the franchise, which is awesome. So let's jump to that clip now, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it afterwards. Okay, let's jump to it.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris from the Chaosbane team. Today, I want to introduce Conrad Vollen, one of the 4 playable heroes in Warhammer Chaosbane. Before we begin, please remember the gameplay you're going to see is from a version of the game that is still in development. Vollen is a captain of the Empire, trained in arms from a young age, and a veteran of many battles against the enemies who threaten the old world. He's a strong fighter who can take heavy damage and deal with entire hordes of enemies. He's a close combat specialist and always carries a shield to fend off attacks. Vollen's combat skills are mainly based on melee attacks, crowd control, and area of effect abilities. With his powerful melee attacks, Vollen can crush any enemy. And with attacks that cause high area damage, he can stand up to enemy hordes. Vollen can also taunt enemies, so they focus him and leave his allies alone. By planting banners and fighting in the area of effect, Vollen and his allies can take advantage of considerable bonuses during fights. This includes bonuses to damage, armor, and immunity to crowd control. Each character also has a unique class skill. Vollen uses a shield to knock back enemies and stun them. In Warhammer Chaosbane, all playable characters are aligned with a god. As a captain of the Empire, Vollen worships the all-powerful Sigma, patron god of the Empire. By making offerings to your patron god, you can unlock passive skills to improve your character's abilities, as well as even more powerful active skills. The gifts bestowed by Sigma are not only the extraordinary weapons Vollen has at his disposal. As he fells the creatures of chaos, he feels his bloodlust gauge. Once full, he can unleash his fury with new supercharged skills, perfect for getting out of a tight spot. With the first level of bloodlust, he can tear through enemies with a warhammer. On the second level, he summons a huge shield and charges through the creatures of chaos while dealing immense damage. At the highest level is the ability to smash the ground with superhuman strength, dealing heavy area damage and repelling the enemies around him. That's it for the gameplay video dedicated to Conrad Vollen. Follow Chaosbane on social media for more details and gameplay videos.
Now, as you can see, he's looking pretty cool. Now, remember, that is early alpha footage, yeah? So the game has progressed a little bit. So if you're seeing some differences between what the game looks like in some of these compared to some of the other clips, that's because I've taken the clips from a range of period and I've put them all together to try and give this just one big video for you guys to have a look at and see if you like the game. But let's get into the next character, which is probably the most unique for the setting so far.
The fate of the Empire lies in our hands.
All right, now we have your archetypical mage. This is very much the mage. It reminds me very much of the mage from Diablo 3. Only there's some interesting mechanics here that you haven't seen from Diablo, which is really, really cool. So what I'm going to do now is we'll jump into his introduction video, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat about it afterwards. So let's jump into that now.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris from the Chaosbane team. Today, we're going to highlight Elontir, the High Elf Mage. Please remember, the gameplay images you're going to see are from an alpha version of the game. During the Great War against Chaos, Magnus the Pious declared an immediate amnesty for any magic user willing to serve. Elontir gained quite the reputation during the war for his mastery of the magical arts, both when fighting the forces of Chaos in Prague and during the Siege of Kislev. He specializes in dealing damage from a distance. Through his mastery of the winds of magic, Elontir can cast a number of different spells. He replenishes his magical energy by dealing damage. The flip side is that his spells consume a lot of energy to cast. It's up to you to choose the right combination of spells to make the most of Elontir's abilities. Whilst he deals damage with single target attacks, it's his area of effect abilities where he really shines. For example, Aetheric Hurricane is a great way to hold off a group of enemies while inflicting damage, and by casting Phoenix Shield, he can create a wall of flame, perfect for lighting up an oncoming horde. As a ranged caster, Elontir is vulnerable in melee combat, but he's not weighed down by the heavy armor of a soldier, making him much more agile, using both his dexterity and magic to stay out of harm's way. But don't worry, if you're running low on energy, he knows his way around a blade. Warhammer Chaosbane is great in co-op, and Elontir can play a vital role in the team. Elontir can freeze time to give his allies, or himself, the chance to unleash their fury on entire waves of chaos demons. And by toggling the right stick of your controller, or by holding down the spacebar on a keyboard, you can move and direct your abilities to follow the enemy's movements. Elontir's most powerful spells come from the god Hoath, the elven god of knowledge, learning, and wisdom, the patron god of wizards. You can unlock these new abilities from a specific skill tree. But if that's not enough to crush the threat of chaos, then he can activate his bloodlust abilities. With these exceptional new skills, you can activate devastating new spells for a short period of time, especially handy during boss fights. That's a wrap for the gameplay video dedicated to the High Elf Mage, Elontir.
Rightio, so what I found really interesting about this particular character and how they've set up his mechanics is the ability to be able to remotely control his elements or his attacks. That's really cool, and I haven't seen that in another game. I mean, if you have, then do put it in the comments down below. But I haven't seen that in another action RPG sort of dungeon crawler like this. And I've played all the way from Baldur's Gate and all of those ones. You know, I used to play them with my brother. You know, they were super hard dungeon crawlers with great tactics and deep, deep role-playing elements, which was really, really cool. I still love them. They're great games. So really, really interesting to see a new mechanic that sort of makes this game stand out a little bit from your average dungeon crawler, which is cool. So let me know in the comments what you think about that and whether this is a character that you'd really like. So let's keep moving on. Unfortunately, guys, as of this stage of recording, and if that does change, I'll splice it in later. But at this stage, we only have reveals like that for these two front characters. The next character was revealed by GameSpot and didn't have a proper game reveal.
If Magnus dies,
So this is your Dwarf Slayer, which is really cool. I love the Dwarf Slayers. They're so iconic to the whole of the Warhammer Fantasy universe. They're just a really cool character. They've really great lore. They're just cool. Everybody loves a Berserk Slayer who drinks a lot and rah rah rah. Really, really, really cool. I'll go more into it in the next part. I'm looking forward to seeing his gameplay. From what I'm seeing at the moment and what little bit that I can find on him, and you'll see some and we'll stop it a little bit further on. He's basically your Berserker, he's your Barbarian. I mean, he's that archetypical fantasy type character. He has a lot of lore, don't get me wrong. They're not a Barbarian. So anybody screaming at the chat, go, Balf, Balf, Balf. They're not barbarians, they are Dwarf Slayers, and they're very different lore. But from a gameplay perspective, from an archetype, if you're looking at a dungeon crawl like this, you will play like that. It'll be a Berserker, close range DPS, all about getting in there, spinning, whirling axes, blood, cutting limbs. That's going to be your Dwarf Slayer, right? So let's move on to the last, and this is the cheeky reveal. We haven't seen this particular character until now. I am a little disappointed at the developers that we haven't received proper reveal trailers like we did with the first two. I would have really loved to see a proper reveal trailer done of the Dwarf and the Way Watcher. I assume they're 4 months from launch and they're probably flat out busy and just haven't had time. Also, they did release the Dwarf Slayer from GameSpot. Let's go on to the last character. All right, so this is our first cheeky reveal of the Way Watcher. Again, I'd love to see a full reveal trailer on this particular character and their abilities, and maybe it will come, and we just haven't seen it yet. But this is the cheeky little reveal that we haven't had yet, so it's really cool. And I was waiting for this before I did a video because I wanted to be able to reveal all 4 of the starting characters. She's looking really cool so far. She's very reminiscent of the Witch Hunter from Diablo 3, or, you know, the playstyle is looking very much or very similar, which is really cool. And I played the Witch Hunter and loved him. Season 6, I think, of Diablo, I played it and really, really enjoyed him. So I'm looking forward to this character. Myself, I'm looking forward to playing them all, to be honest with you. But that's the fanboy in me. Okay, so brutal tactical combat. Now, this I'm really hoping is as advertised. Yeah, the developers on Twitch have been really talking about. That they're developing an old school genre. It's not a battle royale. This is a game for the old school guys who really love this stuff. And I'm hoping they stay true to that. I'm hoping we don't get the Diablo 3 just, pointless grind for incremental little differences. I'm hoping we get a good deep storyline out of the main quest. I'm hoping we get really good deep role-playing elements of it. A good system and tree, not too dumbed down or basic for, so everyone can play. Everyone should be able to play. But I find too often these days we get things dumbed down so that people who don't have very good attention spans can't, who want to leave straight away. I'd love to see a good depth of RPG elements to it. I hope we're going to get that. And it does look, and we're going to talk about that later, I'm going to throw in a clip of the one little clip we've had of the skill tree. So I'm hoping that's part of it. Also, I really want to, it's hard. I understand it's hard to balance team play because some people won't play in a team. They want to play by themselves or in twos. So it's always hard to balance that. But I'm really hoping there's some great team play mechanics in this. They are very much spouting that, as you'll see in the next one on social media. See the Empire Soldier there. We've got the mage Elontir. Now, again, they're very much big on this. They're talking about this being an old school game. You know, they're making it. It's not the popular battle royale, as I said before. So I'm really hoping that we do get that tactical co-op base that they are putting forward. And it does seem that way. I've got to say, I'm not saying any of this as in I don't think they will. I'm actually saying is I think they will, because the way they talk just reminds me of your older school. You know what? They seem similar to the guys from Vermintide. And those guys are passionate. You can see it in their game. So I'm really hoping we get the same level. Bit of Elontir here. We're getting some Empire. Now this is interesting. We're seeing a four-person a full party here. So you've got your Waywatcher in the back here. You've got your Empire Soldier. You've got your Dwarf Slayer here, and you've got Elontir the Mage in the back here. Now we're starting to see some of that Witch Hunter gameplay that I was talking about before in the Waywatcher. Your back tier, back line DPSer. You've got Elontir backing out of the fight. He's going to be jumping down, throwing down the hurt. You've got the Dwarf Slayer spin to win. You know, he's chopping up limbs. That's just really cool. And then we've got the Empire Soldier just holding that front line and tanking. So these are some of the tactics that a lot of people just think, oh, attack and slash. But it's actually not. And if you know how to play correctly and you've played these games, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm really excited, guys. I'm hoping it's as good as it promises to be. Let's keep going. Bit more of the Dwarf Slayer here, which is really cool. Now, it's here we're going to go into the skill tree, guys. And I'm really hoping build up your character has some good aspects. So let's, pardon me. Pardon me. So we'll jump into the skill tree now. And let's have a little chat. Now, there's not much to talk about, so just bear that in mind. So let's jump in. Okay, guys, here we are. And this is what we've seen of the skill tree so far. Now, this is Elontir. It is early alpha footage. So best to take it with a slight grain of salt. I mean, it's more than likely what we will see, but again, alpha version, things can change. The developers have been very quick to change things when, because they've been very vocal on social media, and when they've put something out and somebody said, oh, look, I don't think something was good about this or that, they've actually listened, which is very much to their credit, and changed certain things about the game, which has been good. I know there were some changes made to the Empire Soldier's shield ability. It looked too defensive and not aggressive enough, so they've changed some of that, which was really cool. Now, what we're seeing here, and this is just my assumptions based on what we're seeing here. You've got basic skills and advanced skills by the look of it. This is on an Xbox version. You can see the little X here. Base level starting skills by the looks, and then they run in groups of 3, which is cool. And I'm assuming this is level 4, level 8, level 4, level 8, level 4, level 8. So you get new skills every 4 levels here. 5, 10, 15. So advanced skills are running every 5 levels, and this one's running every 4 levels. So that's pretty cool. Now it rolls down here quite a bit. So we don't get to see all the way down. So I'm not sure how far it goes, but I'm very keen to. It should be good. Now, on the left here, this is obviously your equipped abilities. So you can't just have access to all of these, but we'll have to see how that rolls on the PC version because, I mean, we have access to a lot more keys. So I'm hoping we get more spells to play with. But this is interesting. Even though it's being shown to us in an Xbox version with the B's and X's and Y's, it still gives us a little bit of a glimpse of what we could be expecting with the skill trees. All right, that's all I've got, guys. There's really not a lot to say on it. This is all I can show you right now. I hope that's been enough. And if more comes out, I will keep you updated on the channel. So do make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Let's jump back to the rest of the video here and we'll continue on. So as I said, guys, pre-alpha or alpha footage, just bear it in mind. But it's looking good so far. Hoping there's some good depth in it. Even though there's only 3 levels, if there's a lot of abilities, this could be a lot of fun. So let's keep going. Okay, so we're just giving a quick look at the 4 different characters here. Now, we've already gone through it, so I won't go too much. Now, what I was saying before is I love that we've got a tank Empire Soldier. It's really, really cool. The only thing is if you're a big Warhammer fanboy like myself and you've played all the Warhammer games, and there's a lot of us out there and we're growing every day, right? we've kind of already seen the Empire Soldier. You know what I mean? I find it hard to believe that these guys who make this, who are big fans like that, haven't played Vermintide 2. And I really would have liked to have seen something a little bit different. I mean, if you look at 3 of the 4 starting characters are all very similar to Vermintide 2. Now, it's a totally different game, guys, and I know it's unfair to put the 2 together because they're a different style of game, they're different developers, they're different everything. However, I don't think the world is that small that they're not aware of that. I really would have loved to see, and this is no slight on the game, and I will play every one of these characters, and I'm excited nonetheless. But what I really would have liked to have seen is potentially an Ironbreaker Dwarf here as your frontline tank. You know, would have been really, really cool. Just something a bit different than what we've already seen in Kruber in Vermintide 2 as your tanky frontliner. It would have been very, very cool to see, you know, a real tanky dwarf up the front there. And although you can play the Ironbreaker in Vermintide 2, it would have been cool to see him here as this. It's something a bit different. And then, you know, it could have got something, I don't know, or even, you know what would have been really cool? A Bretonnian knight, perhaps. Something we haven't seen at all here as the tank. That would have been really, really cool. So not anything against it, because we're going to keep talking about, we've got season passes, we've got 3 DLC, so these characters may come in the future and there may be plans for that. I'm not sure why they went with this. Maybe they already know these characters are popular and so they wanted people to connect with them, I suppose. I'm not sure, but you know, for me as a fanboy, I just would have liked to have seen something a little different. Nothing against this though. It's really still very cool and exciting. Now, the mage is the most unique of the setting because we don't have a mage, as far as I know, from any of the other games to this level we can play. Now, you do have like Warhammer Quest and things like that, but I'm talking more of this line. Warhammer Quest is a MOBA game originally. It's not a PC game like this, so I have nothing against MOBA games, but I'm not a big player of them. I prefer my PC, and I prefer a little bit more depth in my strategy and my RPG. That's just how I feel, guys. Let me know in the comments below how you feel. And tell me all about it. I really like this. What's really cool about this is the difference between, say, and my apologies if people go, stop comparing it to Vermintide. I'm just talking about from a fanboy perspective. It's different because we don't have Sienna. Now, I love me some Bright Mage, but it's really cool that we've got a High Elf Mage here, because the High Elf Mage actually has access to, I mean, they taught the humans. They taught, in Magnus the Pious' era, they basically taught, and you'll see that, you would have seen that in the clip. It talked about how Magnus gave, you know, this amnesty in that. These guys are the masters of magic. Outside of the Slann, these guys, they know their shit. And they know all of the winds. They've got them all. They know all of them, plus some that the humans don't have. So this really opens this particular mage character up to so many different builds and strategies, which is really, really cool, that you probably couldn't have done, well, you definitely couldn't have done with an Empire-based mage, because they're only sort of selected schools. So really cool. I think the decision's great. I'd love to see this totally new character to the setting. Fantastic work, guys. Well done. Excited to play it. Okay, now we get our first reveal of the Way Watcher, which is really, really cool. I'm glad to see I went a bit far. I'm glad to see that they have added the Way Watcher. Again, this is a similar critique that I have for the Empire Soldier. You know, we do already have this character, yeah, in Vermintide 2. So, and exactly this character, you know what I mean? A Way Watcher, you know, out of all of the Wood Elves. Now, they have chosen highly iconic characters from each of the races, you know, probably the most well-known. It's just unfortunate that another game has already done that, and so we're sort of getting the same one, as I said. I'm not going to harp on it too much, but if we needed an archer, there could have been other different archers. You know, if you didn't want to do the Ironbreaker and the Dwarf, you could have done a Bugman's Ranger, for instance, which would have been cool. You know, Bugman's Ranger, a Dwarf Ranger. Now, I get it. A lot of people are, yeah, but they're not as, you know, I get it. But there are other ways or other characters that we could have done here, which would have been really, really cool. I'm still very excited to play her. I will play her, and I'm hoping that we get some different stuff in the DLC. We could have seen an Empire gunner here. You know, can you play that in Vermintide 2? Yes, but it's not the specific character that we saw from both Vermintide 1 and 2. You know, so we've had quite a few years of these characters. I'm still excited, and I'm hoping we get some fresh characters for the DLC, which is really, really cool. But first reveal, guys, lap it up. I'm really hoping we get a proper reveal trailer for her in the future. Now, we come to the Dwarf Slayer. Again, super iconic character. I love the Dwarf Slayers. These guys are amazing. Their lore is fantastic. Who doesn't love a gruff, burly dwarf? I love the dwarves anyway. I think they're fantastic. But again, we've seen this, yeah? So where is my Sigmarite War Priest? You know, and I'm hoping he's coming in the DLCs. And I'm not the only one. I know there are others out there calling for Sigmarite War Priest. You could have done a Sigmarite War Priest here with dual hammers, yeah? Still, you know, getting in there, front line. You know, maybe that'll come because, you know, the Sigmarite War Priest is a little bit like, and please don't be rolling in the comments of nastiness, but he's a bit like a paladin if you look at it from the archetype of a fantasy universe, right? Close range, attacking, you know, healing and buffing to some degree, or inspiring. So he could have very much, or a flagellant even, could have filled this role. Now, you might be going, yes, but Dwarf Slayer, and I get it. I totally get it. The other thing that you could do with a Sigmarite War Priest, however, is that they carry a lot more cool armor, which means it's a lot easier to roleplay that character and customize them to look really cool. The armors would have been really cool. Now, I'm hoping he's still coming. I really am. Guys, if you've watched this video, please make a War Priest. No one has done it. We had an amazing epic trailer. If any of you have played Mark of Chaos, the original one, we had this great starting trailer of a War Priest that was so cool, and we haven't seen him in a game outside of Total War that does him justice. So I'd love to see that. That's nothing to say against this dwarf. They're amazing. Slayers are cool. They've got great fantasy lore behind them. They fill this barbarian close range, berserk attacking DPS role really, really well. You know, and you can get some good customization. They'll have beards, they'll have hairstyles, they'll have tattoos, but it's not the same as like armors and bits and pieces. You'll be able to change his axes. There are some questions at the moment of whether or not you can swap between dual axes and a large two-handing axe, which is cool, which are both part of the Slayer lore, which is also really cool. I'm hoping there's a really cool storyline behind this guy. I'm hoping there's some good banter between him and the elf, maybe, and, you know, like we see in Vermintide 2, where there's all these really cool little, like, banter moments between the characters that really add to the immersion and the storyline and roleplay elements of the game. I mean, those are some of my favorite parts of, you know, Vermintide and all those sort of games, where you hear those little bit of banters and you get little drops of the lore. Now, these guys are big lore buffs from what I can understand, so I'm pretty sure we'll see something like that in here, but that's just my thoughts. So let's keep rolling, guys. Sigmarite Priest, if you're watching, Sigmarite Priest, War Priest, make it happen. Or Bretonnian Knight, or, you know, I don't know how you'd fit it in, but maybe, I don't know, something, Lizardmen, something, give us something. All right, and so now we get to I mean, there's been a little bit of backlash from this, but honestly, most people have been really positive and really full on. I'm positive. I don't see any problems. But what we will do now is we'll swap over to the latest tweet. The developers did release a tweet giving us the pre-order packs and the digital deluxe and the downloadable packs and the retail packs, and a little chart, guys, of, you know, what each pack gives you and all those sort of things. Do remember, it does release on the 4th of June, and we'll talk more about that in the next part. So I'll jump into that next part here. Okay, and here we are with their tweet that came out earlier today, letting people know what sort of different editions you can buy for the game. Now, it's a pretty basic chart. Everyone's doing the chart these days. I don't know if this is a gag. So these guys are a bit of larrikins. As I said, they've had a lot of time to play with their audience. They're very communicative with their fans and people who are looking for the game. They've been all over Twitter and Facebook, and they post out almost every other day something on the game. They've been very open about it. So They're usually pretty good, and they've made a couple of jokes. So people are a bit like, oh, is they serious? Or are they trying to pull the leg or whatever? But so take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. At the moment, you've got the 4 different editions. You've got a base game, well, basically a digital deluxe, which has got the base game, a deluxe pack, and 4-day early access. It's only the second one up, so there's usually not a huge difference with it. And then you've got the Magnus edition, which has the base game, the deluxe pack, the 4-day early access, and a season pass as well. So it has all 4. Now, the starting price, I think that they said was $39.99. That's what I've been able to find in euro. That's euro dollars, guys. So you'll have to work out, do the calculations for your own currency. And then this top one here is €55. No word yet as to the Magnus edition. We'll see. No one can seem to find it in retails yet. Probably hasn't shipped. So you've got basically a 40 to 55. There's a $15 or $15 US or euro difference between the two, which means this is going to be somewhere around the middle of $6 more or something, I would think. Okay, now let's go through the different options really quickly. There's been a lot of chat on Twitter about, this is, EA type, Bethesda type stuff, guys. I think that's a bit of an overreaction. Realistically, they've only got put up 4 different editions, to be fair, and there doesn't look like anything major differences. It's more for the fanboys who really want it. I mean, you've got the deluxe pack, which is added in the second one. It gives you a pet pack, which shows cosmetics, which is stock standard for the industry. Emote pack, again, it's cosmetics, stock standard, and then a gold boost. Now, some people did say, what's a gold boost? It depends on how the gold plays out in the game. So it might be a bit too early to be saying, oh, this is pay to win mechanic. I don't think it is at this point. And from the feeling from the developers that we've got is they're more old school. These are old school guys. They're doing an old school game aimed at your Diablo 2 type players and people who might be a little bit older. So I don't think it's time to jump on the, oh my God, EA, Bethesda, Ubisoft bandwagon yet. This certainly doesn't look anything like the complex Excel spreadsheet that is those companies. It's 4 tiers for guys. Just calm down. You've got a 4-day early access, big deal. Who cares? If you want to buy this or you buy this, and they were really good. The guys, the developer actually jumped on straight away when people were writing back, and they were like, guys, you can pre-purchase. If you don't like it, when, inevitably the YouTubers like myself will buy the pre-purchase, and we'll be putting videos out myself, Essek Hydra, Warhammer channels will be putting out, so you'll be able to look on, everywhere and find, out what the game's like. And so they've said, if you jump in, you try it in the pre-order and you don't like it, you can return it. They've said that. It's on their Twitter, so go and have a look. So they're standing behind their product, which is really good and admirable of them. They're standing behind the warranty that Steam gives you, which is also very good. They're not trying to pull a quickie and go onto some other website like other people have done recently. They're standing behind it, and that means you'll also get the reviews on Steam. So you'll be able to know pretty clearly. Do I have a problem with early access? As a person that produces Warhammer content for my Warhammer channel, not really, obviously, because it gives me an opportunity to let people know about the game before they make the purchase, or in time for them to be able to return it if it's not good. So I see the early access sometimes as an excellent way for people to get a pre-look at that game and make that decision. So I'd hate to see people lose that. That's a great option. If it's not a Warhammer game, guys, I don't pre-order. I just don't. I've been burnt too many times by companies like EA and that, so I don't do it. So having that, I do obviously as a Warhammer for obvious reasons, but having that I think is a valuable thing. And to be honest, for the $6 extra, some people might really have a big cry about that. I don't think so, and I don't think that 4 editions is predatory or confusing. Not like. And some people have put up Bethesda's, I think it was Bethesda's, or Ubisoft's, calendar matrix of 7,000 years of intricacy that no one can understand, and then compared it to 4 editions, which is pretty basic. So I think that's a little bit of an overstatement, guys. It could still be a joke too, because these guys are larrikins. Now, the last one here is the season pass. Now, whether you agree with season passes or not, that's up to you. I'm not a huge fan because you're paying for things you don't know. Okay, there's a new quest. What's the quest? And was it involved in the original game or not? We don't know. Is this not a pretty stock standard act for the industry right now? Well, it is pretty stock standard, guys. It's not as though we haven't seen this before. Does that make it right? That's a good question. I'd love to hear your comments below and let me know what you think. I'm certainly not getting any money for this, and my channel is too small to make any money of selling editions of it, so I'm certainly not getting anything from it. All I'm saying to you guys is I don't think that some of the outrage mob that's already started on Twitter over this, I mean, they could be joking, so be careful. These guys are a bit like that. I don't think this is predatory, in my opinion. You may, and that's cool, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. Will I buy the Magnus Digital Edition? Yeah, I will. But that's because I'll be covering it for the channel. If I wasn't covering it for the channel, if it was just a gamer like everybody else, would I buy it? No, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably wait. I'd wait and get other channels, and I'd watch them, and within that first 4 days, I'd make a decision once I'd seen the gameplay. Again, because they have that option. The game developers, as I said, again, are standing behind their product. So, you take that for what you will. You make your decisions. You're an adult. Hopefully. So Season Pass, 3 DLCs. Now, I'm really hoping 3 DLCs means new characters. As I said in the first part of this video, that although I love the Dwarf Slayer, we've seen him. He's been there. So I really want to see some different archetypes. I'd really like to see some different types of characters explore something different. I'm actually really waiting for somebody bold enough to explore the bad guy side. I'd love to see Chaos and Dark Eldar. Sorry, not Dark Eldar. Dark Elves. I'd like to see those aspects of the game. I know, heresy, my bad. I'd like to see Skaven in a game like this, or Vermintide 2. That's where I like to see. But anyway, I digress. The last one has everything that the first one does. So there's no convoluted, oh, you have to buy this, but if you buy this one, you don't get everything that's in the ones previous. It is a simple rundown list, and you've got everything that the others do, plus a leather book. So it's pretty simple. I really don't think this is, predatory practices, guys. But again, let me know in the comments below. You might think completely differently. You might feel that it's a bit of a betrayal. That's up to you. I don't think so. I think it's fairly simplified and not too overly complicated. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. As always, if you've enjoyed the clip, do leave a thumbs up. If not, then leave a thumbs down. That's cool. I'd love to hear from you guys, so do leave some comments in the links below. Tell me what you're feeling. Are you enjoying what you're seeing so far of the game? Are you anticipating it? Do you really want to get into the action? Are you going to get the pre-order or not? What's your decision? As an adult or as a responsible buyer or purchaser, what will be your decisions? Will you wait to see, have a look at the channel like my own and others and see what you're going to get, or are you going to pre-order straight up? I know there's going to be a lot of people pre-ordering straight up. Will you ask more questions on the Twitter? Because believe me, I think you'll get answers. What will be your take on all of this? All right, guys, as always, do check the links down below for the Twitch channel, which we stream games like this and Battlefleet Gothic Armada and Vermintide and all those ones, and Total War. Check out the Twitch channel and check out the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and remember, the Emperor protects, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Yeah.